Good morning and welcome back to my show. I have a nice true crime talk show for you today, and we're doing some Idaho 4 updates. We have a few other things to talk about, and I thought I'd just kind of lay out the show so you guys knew what to expect. So, in our first segment, I have some updates for you. It's actually a really interesting update that I haven't heard on YouTube. Maybe you haven't either, so hopefully you might hear it here first. And then for our second segment, I have a really exciting addition to the live stream we left off on last week when we were doing our last true crime talk before Dr. Ramsland's interview, which is we went back in time and did some profiling on basically Bryan Kohberger, basically reading his old TAPTA talks and hearing his personal experiences over the course of 2 years. And so what I've done is Daniel from the Drunk Turkey Show sent me his interview with one of the girls who knew him around this age. And I've actually done some comparisons between the TAPTA talk and what she says and some comparisons on time frames. And I feel like we can build off of what we talked on last week and actually maybe look at exactly what happened after Bryan did his TAPTA talk. So it'll be an interesting segment. And so I have a whole bunch to show you when we get to that, including articles. And then we have an amazing segment for segment 3 that was actually emailed to me by Dr. Ramsland after my interview with her. Dr. Ramsland brought up some different ways that you can protect yourself from being a target to extreme offenders. And she wrote an incredible article that I'd like to read for you. And I also have some sound bites from the interview that I can play to put it all into context. And then after that, I'm really excited that 2 of my mods, 2 people that help me gather information and help me with my live streams, have finally created channels. And it's nice because I can finally do something to give back to them. So I'm going to feature 2 of my mods. These are like my top, 2 of my top mods that help me manage my channel, Heather and Christy. And I'm going to show you their channels because both of them have been putting a ton of work into editing and uploading videos. And Christy's been doing some field reporting. So I'm excited. I'll show them your channels. And so anyway, that's the show for today. Let me just say hi and then we'll get right into it because we have a lot to go over. And I have backup segments too. I need to add another public live stream per week because 2 just isn't enough. I just have way too many things that we need to cover. So good. So this is Christy, and we'll be looking at her channel at the end, and obviously Heather's too, as she says. And thank you for linking Heather's channel below, Christy. Jeremiah, actually, I'm pulling up an article that you sent me because during the interview with Drunk Turkey and Daniel, he mentioned the HVAC school in Bryan's senior year in high school. And so I'm going to bring up the article that you sent me too. We'll do that in that segment. So, and Trisha actually is contributing to the first segment too, is Trisha actually brought to my Discord an updated statement from the G family regarding recent publications in their names or using their child's likeness and names. Just subbed. Oh, to Heather's channel. Okay. I was like, wait, you've been a mod for a long time. Just kidding, man. I'm just thinking that. Oh, Regina, good to see you. And 12. Hey, 12. 12 had a really great live stream last night. I was able to catch some of it. They were doing work on the inner child. It was really interesting. I know. I'm glued to the screen, and I've gone back and watched that interview a handful of times now. It's just so good. I just listen to it. I'm glued to everything she has to say. All right. So anyway, that's enough saying hello. If I missed someone, I'm sorry, and we will be reading your comments as we go along. All right. So let's get into the first segment, and this story was actually given to me by Mikey, and I really appreciate that he gave me this story. And Mikey, if you start a channel, I will promote it just like I am Christy and Heather. So please consider that. And so let me pull up this article for you. And if you haven't seen this information, I feel like your jaw is going to hit the floor. You may have heard it alluded to, though, over the course of the last few months, because I have heard some of it alluded to. Okay. So this is the article that Mikey sent me. And it says Amazon lands Idaho murder docu-series from directors Liz Garbus and Matthew Galkin. So let me go on with this article. So, excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that. Let me make my picture better. Okay. All right. The show from Skydance TV and Garbus's story Syndicate is based on an upcoming nonfiction book by James Patterson and Vicky Ward. I like can't help but pause right there and just to get your impression of what you think. The first thing is, and this, I don't want to be hard on Howard Bloom, but I am really excited to read a James Patterson novel. I do like his style of writing. I'm not a big novel person, but I am excited to see the way he puts the information together. Another thing that bothers me, it does, I'll read on, but it sounds like, again, this is a pre-trial release. Come on. Prime Video is taking a big step in true crime. The Amazon-owned streamer has ordered a documentary series about the 2022 University of Idaho murders and the investigation arrest in an upcoming trial, of Bryan Kohberger in a connection with the case. The series from Skydance Television and Story Syndicate is based on an upcoming nonfiction book by best-selling author James Patterson and journalist Vicky Ward. Liz Garbus from Lost Girls and I'll Be Gone in the Dark, and Matthew Galkin from Murder in the Bayou are set to co-direct the docuseries. Amazon and MGM Studios. Amazon, MGM Studios, Skydance, and Story Syndicate are also developing a scripted series based on the case, with Garbus attached at the helm to the first episode. The series will also feature interviews with the mother and the stepfather of victims Madison Mogen and the family of Ethan Chapin. Mogen, Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Xana Coronado were killed in an apartment in Moscow, Idaho, in November of 2022. Kohberger was later charged with the murders. He is scheduled to go to trial in 2025. We are honored that the Chapin and the Laramie families have decided to exclusively collaborate with us to shine a light on the personal stories of Ethan, Madison, as well as Xana and Kaylee. There. And this is, okay, so let's stop here. This is what really, really makes this a story, is what we're about to read in this next paragraph, because I'm pulling up 1, 2, 3, 4 different examples of why this next paragraph is important. So just take note, if you could. All right. Our unparalleled access to the families and the closest friends will allow us to paint an intimate and authentic portrait of our 4 victims and their lives at the University of Idaho, which were so tragically cut short. We couldn't ask for better partners than Skydance and James Patterson Entertainment to help us bring a definite telling of this important story to the world. Without influencing anything you have to say, I'd like to know in the chat, do you think that description sounds differently than Bloom's description? What are the differences in the sources between Bloom's description? Go ahead and drop it in the chat and we'll display it after I'm done with my sound bites. Because it is important, these books were sourced and written in 2 different styles. And I'd love to get some opinions in the chat to put up afterwards. All right, let me go on. Okay, added Skydance TV president Matt Tennell. The events that transpired in Moscow, Idaho shocked the world and left many unanswered questions. With Liz Garbeth and James Patterson at the helm, and with the involvement of the Chapin and Laramie families, we will shed new light on these horrific murders and the horror of the 4 innocent lives that were taken too soon. Both documentary series and potential, sorry you guys, I need to say potential. Both docuseries and potential scripted series stem from Patterson's first look deal, first look deal with Skydance TV, the company that is also producing Prime Video's Cross, based on Patterson's Alex Cross novels and starring Aldous Hodge, along with Paramount's television studio. Okay. Skydance's David Ellison, Dana Goldberg, Matt Tennell, an executive producer with our executive. I'm sorry to be so wishy-washy today. Let me start this whole entire paragraph over. Sundance's David Edelson, Dana Goldberg, and Matt Tennell are executive producers with Patterson. Bill Robertson, Patrick Santa for James Patterson's Entertainment, and Garbus, Dan Cogan, John Barden, Kate Berry for Full Story Syndicate, and Gawker via Fairhaven Company. And let's just see what this is. Okay. I wasn't sure if there was like a little video. So I find this really interesting. And it really brought to light something that I was reading by a very accomplished author in my last live stream. And I'm going to play you that soundbite. But before we do, let's just compare what we just read to the description of Howard Bloom's introduction. His sources are listed at the end of the book. He puts emphasis on his writing and initial reactions of people at the beginning of the case versus speaking with sources that are close other than his grand jury sources, which are in question, sources close to the case. So let's just read how Bloom describes his book on Amazon. It's just such a stark difference. Well, don't dox yourself. When the night comes following, the definitive inside story of the Idaho murders from best-selling author Howard Bloom, whose groundbreaking coverage of the story was a nominee for the Pulitzer Prize. So this is in every description, and I just want to point it out. If you're not reading that correctly, it sounds like this book was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, and it wasn't. If you read the description, he's saying he's a Pulitzer Prize winning author, and he wrote the book. So it's funny how it's worded in that kind of tricky manner everywhere, even on like the initial interviews with Bloom when he was coming out with his book. Timed for a trial. I'm sorry, you guys. Timed for a trial that will capture the nation's attention when the night comes following examines the mysterious murders of the 4 University of Idaho students, having covered this case from its start. Eager award-winning investigative reporter Howard Bloom takes listeners behind the scenes of the police manhunt that eventually led to the suspected killer, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, and uncovered a large lurid questions within the unthinkable tragedy. Reminiscent of the panoramic portraiture of the cold blood and the executive song, When the Night Comes Falling offers a suspenseful, richly detailed narrative that will leave its listeners transfixed. They're marketing them differently. One's being marketed as an inside look written by a novelist. The other one is really being marketed like a novel. if you really read Bloom's description, I mean, he's not going to sit here and say it's a nonfiction book, but that's kind of how it reads. And so I thought it was really interesting because I actually had an author on my show on Friday, if you didn't catch it. And I'm just going to read her bio because it's really short, but it shows why what I'm about to read, the soundbite I'm about to show you, it shows why it's so impressive. So I interviewed Dr. Kathleen Ramsland, and most people know her best as the professor that taught Bryan Kohberger and ultimately recommended Washington. She's a brilliant forensic psychologist. And so I'm going to read you her bio, and then I'll play you her soundbite. Dr. Kathleen Ramsland teaches forensic psychology and behavioral criminology at the graduate program of DeSales University, where she is professor emerita. Sorry. She has appeared as an expert in more than 250 crime documentaries and was the executive producer of Murder House Flip on A&E's Confessions of a Serial Killer, BTK, the author of more than 1,800 articles, 73 books, including Confessions of a Serial Killer, A Serial Killer's Apprentice, and How to Catch a Killer. She pens a regular blog for Psychology Today. She has also written a fictional series based on female forensic psychologist Annie Hunter, who consults death investigations. So let me bring up this soundbite for you. Okay, and this one's at 34:15. Oh my gosh, what a bad place to pause my freaking face. 34:15. This is interesting in this case. Please, my mods will link all of Dr. Ramsland's books on Amazon so that you can go check this out for yourself. And she also has a blog on Psychology Today, which was wonderful, and I really found informative.
Thank you.
I wanted to go. We have a little bit of time. I just wanted to add this question, if you don't mind, Dr. Ramsland. You are an accomplished nonfiction writer, which is a specific and special skill. So you have personally researched and written about very profile cases, as we've been talking about. So we do a lot of scripting here on YouTube for our videos, and a lot of us write as well. What advice would you give others when writing and scripting nonfiction crime stories?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is research. When I got involved with this co-author on the Henley piece, she was a prodigious researcher. She had been on production crews, and that's how I met her. She was on the production crew for the 4-part documentary we did on the Raider book, and she could get things. We'd figure out what we needed. We always wanted to ground it in documents, in facts. It's very easy to speculate, and unfortunately, the true crime arena is rife with speculative ideas about who did what, accusations, unfounded. People have lost sight of the need for evidence, and it's not just the amateur web sleuths. I see it in law enforcement too, a lot. I'll tell you a story right now of a case that I recently wrote up that I was involved with because Dennis Rader was being accused of yet another murder. Now, he confessed to the 10, and he was being accused of another one that took place in Missouri in 1990. It was a young woman who had been assaulted, bound with 6 different ropes and whatnot, and dumped on an abandoned farm property. And it wasn't far from where he grew up on his grandparents' farms. So there were a lot of similarities. He bound his victims. He was familiar with the area. At the time, he was working for the census, so he was in Missouri and Oklahoma, and traveling on the road. There were a number of things that would make sense to at least consider him to be a suspect. But there was a sheriff in Oklahoma who decided he's absolutely the guy. He is the guy. And had this sense of certainty, even though he had no evidence whatsoever, but he told there was an investigative team, 2 female detectives, and he urged them to go question Rader. Just go see for yourself. He's the guy. He's the best suspect for this case. So they went, and they weren't convinced. And then very, very soon, the guy who was their suspect was killed in a motorcycle accident, and suddenly witnesses to the murder came forward. They saw her being killed by this guy, not by Dennis Rader. But so what I'm trying to say here is, when you hear how easy it is to make a case because you have a few of the facts that sound good, and you move forward, and you think because it sounds good, it's right, or it's true, or it's accurate, and you lose the need for evidence. You think speculation somehow replaces evidence, and it doesn't. And yet we're seeing that over and over and over again in some of these cases, because everybody wants to jump in and solve the crime, or stake their claim on some given crime, and they know what happened, they know with certainty what happened, and they don't know. But it's become a problem. And so my advice is, whatever you think you know, make sure you understand that you may not have all the facts you need to make the case you're trying to make. There's a cognitive error, which has a terrible name, Wizziati, but it's what you see is all there is.
I'm stopping there. This is like my new motto. And since she said this, I wrote it down. I've tried to kind of follow this principle. And obviously we just heard Dr. Ramsland say it, and I could never speak better than she is, but just paraphrase in case the point is being missed on you, because you might not know the characters in play. Dennis Rader was convicted of 10 killings. He was a serial killer. And all of the evidence pointed towards him. In their minds, this isn't a criminal. This is the police. This isn't like a crime novelist. And the detectives were saying, okay, all these pieces fit together. Is very likely Rader for this A, B, C, D, E. And come to find out, not only wasn't him, but there were witnesses, and it was proven to not be him. There was really no reasonable doubt that it wasn't him. But yet all points pointed to him. And that just reminds us, when we're looking at this case, no matter how much these extremely skilled authors or journalists are at sourcing things, they will never be able to look at the case before it's presented to the public. If they did, in this case, it would be completely, probably a mistrial. But my point is that it can appear to be one thing by fitting all the pieces together, but all you have is what you know. Let's listen to it again, so I don't mess up the saying.
And they know what happened. They know with certainty what happened, and they don't know. But it's become a problem. And so my advice is, whatever you think you know, make sure you understand that you may not have all the facts you need to make the case you're trying to make. There's a cognitive error, which has a terrible name, Wizziati, but it's what you see is all there is. In other words, you may have a collection of facts, like the Garber case that I just talked about. You get the notion that these are all the facts there are, and then you spin your case off of that, and then we find out there's all this other stuff that you didn't put into your case that's also part of the picture, and it changes the picture. So thinking that you have all the facts is probably the number one mistake that I see among the writers in true crime. They think they have all the facts and everything they need to make the case, and they don't. So always be cautious and always make sure there's evidence backing what you have to say, not just speculation that sounds good. Because a case that you think is good enough isn't the same thing as really actually a good case. And so I would say be careful. Research, run down leads, talk to people involved as much as they'll talk to you, and get a solid sense of what it is you're writing about. Don't be hasty. I think part of it is people want to rush to judgment. They want to get their podcast or their book or their article or whatever out there as fast as possible, and they make mistakes along the way.
Thank you so much. That's obviously something that all of us, okay, so we'll pause there. And take that down. So, Wiziotti, what you see is all there is. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could see these true crime authors use that to base their storyline and not fill in with speculation, particularly before a trial like this, which we all know could, well, we don't all know, but we could speculate might jeopardize the trial or jeopardize the innocent until proven guilty system that we have. But we also have a system of freedom of speech. So just a cultural question, maybe best practices, but money seems to beat out everything because ultimately publications are a business. And anyway, so oh, there is one more thing I had to add to this segment. I'm sorry. So we had the last thing I wanted to show you is the G's family statement. And I should have played this after I read you the Amazon description of Bloom's book. But what I'm going to show you is the recent statement that came out and actually echoes wait, I get her name right. I'm sorry, Trisha. I can never get the name of your channel right. Let me get it. So Trisha, from Echoes of Clarity, actually posted in my Discord a new statement from the G family. And I did start a few of these comments. That just reminded me. And she had wrote this comment when we were reading the new book and docuseries article that involves James Patterson. And she says, if it's about Maddie, Ethan, Xana, and Kaylee, then it's cool because the parents agree. And you're right. It seems to have a lot more, what's the word? I don't know, class. But it feels a lot more positive when you know that the people who are most affected by this story are willing to give their side of it. Are willing to talk to the author. That definitely is impressive, and it makes you put a lot more faith in the details of the writing. Good morning, 12. Thank you. All right, let's move on to our next segment. And hopefully, Daniel, you're watching, but if not, hope you catch it in the replay. Daniel from Drunk Turkey has generously offered for me to use his interview with Bree for this segment. So Bree is one of Bryan Kohberger's friends. They became friends when they were seniors in high school. And what's interesting is by doing this segment, we're kind of piggybacking off of the segment I did last week when we read all of BK's Tap to Talks. Now, those Tap to Talks started from the age of 15 to 17. And they alluded to the fact that it sounded like the visual snow had resolved, but it appeared that there was experimentation with different drugs going on. And some of these accounts that Bree has, I do feel we can draw some comparisons to what was not only said in the Tap to Talk, but we have another witness from when he was younger. I'm not sure. I might pause as we're playing to show you the different segments. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do this, or if I want to show them all at the end. This is a surprisingly easy listen. It looks like it's an hour and a half interview, but it's like literally a 25-30-minute interview. And I've gathered as much information from this interview about BK's, young life as I have from anywhere else. So it's a great resource if you hadn't heard it yet. So let me bring up Drunk Turkey Show. And hold on. It is getting so hot up here right now. I cannot wait to go to the air-conditioned part of my house.
For the first time in more than 5.5 years, we finally tonight have a few new answers to a question that has loomed over Indiana and over the town of Delphi. Who killed Abby Williams and Libby Jones?
From the end of the bridge you got to go through. Now, I believe that the bodies were found about
born from a family's grief and determination. In April of 2020, Army soldier Vanessa Guillen went missing while stationed.
I will skip to when it starts, but I like the introduction, so I'm playing.
At one of the largest military installations.
That little music in the background that goes, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious."
Right.
Knew about it or was there. He's as guilty as the person who committed.
Chilling details in the arrest of a suspected serial killer caught before he could strike again.
Him, they dropped the ball, man. Like they said, he went AWOL, and that he was a deserter, and nobody went to look for him.
Today is not a day to celebrate. But the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder.
Like I said, we're going back. We were asked last time to kind of talk about the food, the grub truck video, and kind of give our perspective of it. The press release from the police department, it indicated that they're still trying to put pieces together from that night. Does that worry you at any point or at any bit that they're still trying to put those pieces together?
It's been over 5 weeks since little Kaylee Anthony vanished. Her mother, Casey, has been arrested for lying to police. She's being held without bail.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing.
No,
hit that button.
They must have had a much longer introduction than they do now. I'm sorry, you guys. I just thought it would be fun. I'm going to skip to our first segment, which starts about 4 minutes into them starting. So before I start, if my mods don't mind, could you oh, thank you for the blessing, Christine. It's so sweet. Thank you so much. We'll drop a link to Drunk Turkey Show so you can go check out the interview for yourself. In fact, I'll drop a link to the interview so you don't have to sift around through it, because it was over a year ago. It's interesting. I didn't really know it was there. So there's a link to the actual interview if you want to go watch it for yourself in its entirety. So this first segment, she's going to be talking about, well, the emphasis that I want to put on this segment is, I don't know, if you were to call this part of the interview, it's like the first 5 minutes that I'm showing you. It's basically, I could categorize it as like normal kid. Like he wasn't the most popular, but he certainly wasn't like the most not popular either. And so we'll listen to what she has to say, but she talks about different things like parties and girlfriends and stuff, his personality traits, which is very interesting. And the pictures that we were showing of BK in his teenage years, that's how I found out about this, because Daniel saw them and he's like, I interviewed that girl because she had seen her pictures on Daniel's channel, and then she reached out and said, hey, I saw my pictures. I'd like to be on your show. I'm talking too much.
Tonight, we have a special guest. We have somebody who was friends at one point with Bryan Kohberger, the accused in the IDAHO4 incident. Her name is Bree. She'll be coming in. Bree, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight? Are you drinking with us?
I am drinking. I'm actually going to have Screwball and some Mason.
Nice, nice. So Big Blue's missing out tonight.
Yeah, blue.
So for my friends from PA that are in the chat, I think Bree is a pretty cute girl. I think that she is like quintessential PA girl. She's very cute.
Blue.
Even though I can do an IV buzz, I'm not gonna chance it.
No.
Yeah, don't do it, dude. Don't do it. Well, Bree, welcome to the show. We met you the other day through our live chat. You saw the thumbnail. I actually had found that picture on a Facebook post, and so that's where all this started. I found the Facebook post, saw the picture, and I was like, I'm going to use this as a picture that nobody's used, and fortunately, you saw yourself and you wanted to come out here. Without getting into too much of your, and that's what we're not going to do tonight. We're not going to get into any personal information or anything like that. If you guys have questions for her, we try to answer them. If you send it in and it's a super chat, we'll definitely look at it. If it's appropriate and she's okay answering it, then she will, but we're not going to force any questions. So my first question is, when did you meet Bryan and how did you meet him?
I met Bryan in high school, and we went to VOTEC together, but we didn't officially meet until I ended up throwing a banger with my best friend at her house.
Got you. And so he was at the party?
He was, yeah.
Okay. Was he a party guy? Did he go to parties?
I don't necessarily think he was a party guy, but I can say that Bryan, anytime we had a little soiree or a get together, he was there, but he was very selective with his friends. So I don't think that he went to many parties other than just his few friends here or there where he knew it was a safe place for him.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. She's quintessential PA girl. I think one of the cutest things is when somebody recognizes her for her Hello Kitty collection. It's so cute. It's interesting that you guys haven't seen this before. I've had 2 people in the chat say that so far. And Jeremiah says, so he doesn't sound like a social outcast. No, there are some fascinating things she said that I might not have known about until I read that Tap to Talk, though. And we'll start painting a closer picture. I've got some pretty detailed stuff, but I'm not skipping that. I was just skipping kind of the fluff out of the interview. We can listen to it all the way through because I'm really only skipping 30 seconds here, a minute there. So let's just start it.
Got you. And when you say a safe place for him, what do you mean by that? Did he find places not to be safe for him? What does that mean?
I do think Bryan was bullied in high school. I've never seen it, but we went to 2 schools. We went to our high school, and then half of the day we went to our vocational school. And in our vocational school, there were 5 to 6 other high schools. And with Bryan being the quiet guy that he was and very to himself kind of guy, I don't foresee him not being bullied.
Got you. Understood. Now, were you guys in the same grade, or was he, a grade ahead of you guys, or?
He was a grade below me.
Got you. And so we have a $5 super chat by Michael. You guys are awesome. Thank you for bringing awareness to this case. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Cheers to you, Michael. Or Michelle, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm already feeling the tamarindo. Just kidding. So how long did you know
Sorry, I was muted. Before we hear this segment, because it's kind of out of place, I wish this was at the end of the interview, so it was chronological, but this is sort of towards where their relationship began to deteriorate. I'm not going to show you, I'm not going to read the whole article, but I want to point this out to you. This article I brought up before, Jeremiah, who's in the chat, is the one who sent this to me, and it is just a really fascinating read. It's by Newsweek. It says Bryan Kohberger investigated as a teenager, school administrator reveals. Now, I'm not going to read the article because it's just one person's opinion. And we don't know all the details. And if it isn't as bad as what we speculate, it could be very damaging. Like if it was something a lot more benign than what we fill in the blank with, then this article could be really biasing. However, it is all we have. So what this claims is that halfway through, so a VOTEC high school is basically this. So you go to high school for the regular half of the day, and then the second half of the day, you go to a training, like an apprenticeship type high school. And in this case, they're talking about the HVAC part of the high school. However, he initially started out in like a mini, it was a program for, well, I'll just read what it says in the article because I don't remember. So it says, so Tanya Carmela Beers previously served as an administrator at the vocational high school that Kohberger attended, with her duties including mental health services and student discipline. Kohberger attended the vocational program at Pleasant Valley School District in Eastern Pennsylvania during his sophomore and junior years in high school. Speaking, and Bree, just so you have like an idea, Bree is a year older than him and a year above him in high school. And she talks about hanging out with him in his senior year. So the vocational school started before she was hanging out with him. Actually, she says she met him in that vocational school. So it's interesting piece of information that when we read those TAPTA talks and that visual snow, he had entered into this really stressful phase of his education. And you'll hear what Bree has to say in a second about how stressful it was going to that vocational school. So it's interesting that these escalating symptoms were going on in the TAPTA talk, literally when this very stressful time in his life was going on. But let me just finish reading you the kind of meat and potatoes of this article. I don't like that saying. I don't know what I said. Speaking with the Idaho Massacre podcast, she described an incident which several female students lodged complaints against him, ultimately leading to his removal from the school's vocational law enforcement program. So that was what I was getting at. Initially, he was in the law enforcement program. And then, when we see those pictures of Bryan doing the push-ups before his major weight loss transformation, that was during the VOTEC. So I'm thinking that was during his junior year before he started the extreme detox diet. I'm no longer calling it the vegan diet because that wasn't necessarily the point of it. It was meant to be an extreme detox diet, allowing your body to get rid of its toxins. And so this was that law enforcement part of the program, just by reasonable deduction, started before his weight loss, started before the extreme diet. And then his senior year, he went into the HVAC program, and I'll just tell you why. It says, a situation occurred where a complaint was made and a teacher reported it to me and said an investigation needed to be conducted. Carmela Beers explained other students were interviewed, Bryan was interviewed, and there comes a time when decisions have to be made, whether it's the decision or the student, whether it's the decision the student wants or not. She continued. He was removed from the law enforcement program and transitioned to the HVAC program, and then at the end of the 11th year, he decided not to return as a senior. Now, that's confusing, right? Doesn't that kind of go against what Bree's saying right now? So maybe we'll listen carefully. Maybe what she's saying is she met him in her senior year and he was a junior, because it looks like he didn't return as a senior. And then just to read the last part of this article that's important. Carmela Beers would not elaborate on what Kohberger had been accused of, but did note We had him removed from the program when I looked back on it now, it makes sense. And is such an incriminating thing to say. We don't know what she means by that. And we can only assume she didn't want to, it would be better for her not to say it than say it. Our speculation is better than actually what it is. Otherwise, if it's something less benign than some of the things we could come up with, that's a really biased thing to put into the media. But let's go on with Bree's interview. So now that I've set that up for you with the HVAC, I think what Bree has to say is going to fit into place. And we'll pull out some tap to talks as she's talking as well.
Collection. Thank you. I have over 2,000 of them.
Funko Pops.
Ever wanting that?
On a specific person?
Nope. Never really talked about anything too intimate.
Gotcha.
One of the big questions in the chat is everybody wants to know what Triple C is.
Triple C, dang, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like a step up from like Molly. He just ended up doing some heavy drugs, and I knew some of those people because a lot of people did those drugs on the bus to Votech. So a lot of people were like off their rocker at Votech, and it was just unsupervised. Like I've watched somebody snort cocaine in the back of the bus, and like we're in our senior year. I'm like, whoa, shouldn't we be doing this in our 20s?
Oh wow. And Votech, it was what, HVAC? Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was he a strict vegan? Was his diet that way back then?
I don't remember the veganism. I can't recall. No.
Okay. So he started taking some heavy drugs. How long, did you know, did it take?
I'm just going to stop right there because I think this clears up what we were just talking about. So Jeremiah points out his senior year was online, wasn't he? I could be wrong. Now that might be the detail that kind of fixes this timeline issue. So Bree says senior year. She must have been talking about her senior year, BK's junior year, and where he was in the vocational part. So it looks like halfway through his junior year is when he changed into the HVAC program. And then Jeremiah is right. I've heard this too. I need to verify this. Where did I put it? But he did do his senior year online, I believe. So that would make sense in the time frame, or at least that kind of gives us an idea of what the time frame could possibly be. So, let's continue.
For you to notice a change in him after he started to take those drugs?
Well, I remember just party after party, like he would just like get weirder and weirder and then like disappear for a little bit. And I think the last party that like we actually were at together, we were at my friend's house, and
okay, so I'm calling this segment the cornfield, and I think that this is, of all the parts of the interview, I gleaned the most information from this story. I'm going to bring up the tap to talks in this instance, so I'll let her get through the whole story, and then I'm going to bring up some very interesting quotes from the tap to talk, which were so obviously happening during this period of time, to me, or at least in this time frame.
He disappeared for a little bit, came back, was like really weird. He was just like a little bit weird, and we were like, "Are you good?" And he just ended up disappearing in the cornfield, like just in the cornfield, and like everyone was already drunk, smoking marijuana. Like, but we were not gonna worry about like Bryan Kohberger just running away, and his dad came knocking on the door. He wasn't mean at all. Like I just remember it being like a 2-minute like interaction, and he was like, "Is Bryan here?" And we were just like, "He was here but we don't know where he is now. He ran off into the cornfield. And then I guess the next day or two, I'm not really sure, but I just remember him like messaging us like, guys, I got lit last night. I was like, oh, all right.
Oh, jeez.
That was going to be actually my next question. If you knew his parents.
What was that?
I said that was going to be actually my next question. If you knew his parents.
I did not know any of his family, his sisters, or his parents. I just had that one interaction. But from what I heard from friends, local friends that we've been talking, that his mom was a substitute or worked in the school district, and she was the nicest woman. And his dad was like a great storyteller. And that's really it.
Did you ever visit the home that they lived in?
I drove by it, but I've never like went inside or visited. No, he was always either at my friend's house where we all hung out, or we went like hiking or something. But he was never really. I was never there at his house. No.
Got you.
All right, I'm
I always wonder what kind of posters he has on his wall and stuff like that. You know, what kind of music was he into?
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. So the tap to talks, you guys. The tap to talks. Let me find it. Oh my gosh, I didn't. Where's my tap to? Here they are. Okay. We're going to pause and we're going to look at 5 different comments in the tap to talk real quick. So we're just going to reiterate what we just listened to before they got into the pictures. They were sitting around having an extremely chill night. They described it as drinking and smoking pot. So, I mean, it wasn't defined as a banger for her. She defined it as a soiree to differentiate between the two. And then BK allegedly tweaks out or freaks out and goes running off into a cornfield, disappears. The next thing they see was his dad looking for him. And then the next morning, BK says he got lit. So I thought about this a lot because there were some things that I knew were similar to what we just read at the same age. And I think he alluded to this in those tap to talks. You tell me what you think. So we're going to start with, let me go to page 83. Whoa, that's not what I meant to do. So this is his tap to talks. I just want to read this to you again. They began November 1st of 2009. They ended February 20th of 2012. And I'm going to start by showing you, let's see, let's pull up page 16. So down here, this is really crazy. When he says he fled straight into the corn, right down here, he says, when I feel slightly calm, it gets hard to breathe. I see bright dots in my vision. Nothing I do is enjoyable. I am blank. I have no opinion. I have no emotions. I have nothing. Can you relate? And so I just really, this stuck out to me when I initially read these, when he says, when I feel slightly calm, it gets hard to breathe. So think about this situation. So she's talking about parties he was at, but now she's talking about one of these soirees. Well, what are they doing? They're being chill. They're all hanging out, like relaxing and having a chill night. We know, and he admits to this group, I don't know what's going on. This is what happens to me when I'm chill. And then let me read you this, just to refresh your memory. Right here it says, I would wander alone at 2 a.m. Everything was so generic. Nowhere felt like home. I saw things that were not there, a different reality. I felt eerie and alone. I died during those nights. I felt like a criminal, but where was my record? I can't talk without flinching now. So anyway, and I'm not going to keep going because that was a very emotional that was a very emotional post, and it has something to do with something else. But if he says he walked at night, and he says I'm just bringing out the facts of it, not the speculation. And then if we go to page 83, next, oh, oops, that's not the right one, 89. He says, oh, no, it was this one. What the heck? This isn't the page. All right, never mind, you guys. Let me go to page 28. Down here. I was crazy on Topamax. Now that's there were 4 statements about the Topamax and the different side effects that he had from it, but this is one that stood out. I was crazy on Topamax. And then we'll go a little bit backwards and hear what he actually defines as crazy. He says, oh, well, he's commenting to someone else. He says, it sounds like you're on mind-altering medication and need help. One of the people in the chat. When I was on Topamax, I did crazy shit that I should have died from. And I remember when we read that, I'm like, whoa, what did he do? Well, running into a cornfield in the middle of night, especially if it's wintertime in Pennsylvania, he probably could have died from. Because I kept wondering, like, what did he mean by that? And then even more telling, probably the most telling of all of these statements in relation to what Bree is saying is this one. I took topiramate or Topamax before, and it just made me insane. I broke my table for no reason. Seriously, LOL. I never really cared about after images since I developed them at age 9 and they got intense. I don't know. Let's keep playing the interview. But the cornfield, that's my whole point was the running off into the cornfield. That's the point of this segment is there are a couple things in the Tap to Talk that make that very fascinating. So let's tune back into Drunk Turkey Show.
Music we actually listened to a lot of lo-fi beats before it was lo-fi. Like, we listened to a lot of just chill music because that's kind of like the little friend group that we created. And then he would obviously listen to the music that we had at parties, like just random like Kanye playlists. But I never saw him like vibing out to Kanye. But I definitely know like lo-fi was the ish.
Got you. And so after once you guys he started getting onto some harder stuff and changing a little bit, did you ever hear or know of any altercations he may have gotten with any other people? Apparently some indicate that he became a bully himself. Are those rumors? Did you ever hear those rumors?
I heard the rumors, but it wasn't until recently where this case is unfolding that I didn't hear or that I've heard of him like being a bully or aggressive. I don't ever remember him getting into a fight, but as soon as he offered my friend heroin, we cut the friendship off because that's when we realized like this friendship is really toxic and like this is just not something that we can allow. Like, we can't have someone overdose in a house where we're all just drunk and on weed trying to have a good time. Like, that's just a whole nother level.
Right. No, for sure. Give me 1 second. Go ahead. Blue.
I see one of the main questions I see in the live chats is, did he ever have a girlfriend? Was he straight or gay? That's what the main question was.
I do believe he was straight. He definitely was straight, but at the time of our friendship, he did not have a girlfriend. I'm also seeing in the chat here because I have it on the side of me. someone asked a few times, do I think he's guilty? And I feel like that's a question for a little later on, but I'd love to keep answering questions.
Okay.
that you guys have.
So in these pictures here that you sent, this is in high school, I assume?
Yeah.
And
pausing it right now just because I want to emphasize how special this segment is. These are screenshots from a FaceTime or like a Zoom call that Bree had with Bryan. And we don't see these pictures very much, probably because they're pixelated, so it's hard to take a screenshot of a screenshot off of YouTube and use it for a thumbnail. But they are interesting pictures, and they do show his personality. They don't show a blankness or a lack of personality. Or I should say, you know, we just listened to a world famous author explain, you know, I don't want to use this word. I'm just saying that when we talk about the complex diagnosis that might create someone like BK, one of them is having a lack of sense of self, this very never being able to ground yourself into your persona. And, you know, he just doesn't come across like that. But we also know extreme offenders come in all shapes and sizes. So I'll shut up.
this is like a FaceTime?
Yep, it's Skype. Yep.
Okay.
I remember.
Yeah, he looks like a normal guy. You know, he really does. This picture here, where was this taken at?
That picture there was taken at my friend's house at one of our parties. And I think that may have been the party that he ran into the cornfield, or a party before that.
Got you.
Okay, so I like that. Actually, I really like this photo, and I think I'm going to use this for the thumbnail of this show. But let's dub this photo the cornfield photo.
Got you. And so, go ahead.
I've been up north, and when you party up north and you get too drunk, you run in the cornfields, man.
Yeah, no, the cornfield is definitely where you go and you seek yourself for sure.
Hey, Blue, there's a lot of feedback coming back on your mic, I think.
Yeah, I don't know whose it is. I was going to say that.
Yeah, I think it might be Blue's. Can you check it in? Yeah.
Okay, let me skip forward while they're doing their mic check. So the next, oh, where did I put my thingy? I'll just play it because I don't.
Mute yourself.
Plug it.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
Thank you for the $4.99 super chat there from.
Okay, so the pictures begin at the 1708. I'll just keep playing.
T-Boss, and I think we had a Jane C also came in with a $2 super sticker. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And so since high school, he's never tried to like reconnect with you, or you know, whether it be like Facebook, Instagram, things of that nature, just friend requests, nothing like personal.
So he did contact me about 2 years after we graduated, which would be a year after he graduated because he was in a year below me. And I've been looking for this message. I don't know if it was on Facebook, Instagram, or one of my deleted social medias, but I do remember Bryan. I'm going to go off on a tangent here for a second, so just bear with me.
Go ahead.
Bryan.
Before she goes off on this tangent, I have to tell you guys this. I think this is hands down the most important part of the interview. It's also as a service to just speaking truth. You know, she's about to do a pretty brave thing, I think, when the entire nation's vilifying this one person. What she says is very impactful, and I don't think it's a message that has got out there. So I want to set this up before she gives this. It's my dogs. I wanted to set this up before she started because I think it's one of the most underreported statements I've heard about BK.
Messaged me, and he was, I think I liked a photo of his or vice versa, and he messaged me and he said, "Hey Bree, you know, I just want to let you know, like, I'm getting sober, or I am sober, somewhere along those lines. And I just remember me saying, like, that's so great. I've never been friends with somebody, like, I've been friends with people who did, like, drugs in high school, but never somebody who, like, sobered up and, like, been to that side. So I was like, oh, that's great. Like, I'm so proud of you. But he was really talking from the heart, I believe, when he said that he was just trying to change his life for the better, and that he wanted to do something that changes people, changes the community. He really wanted to make an impact, honestly. And just looking at it now, like, I've had to come to terms with it, is like, I have someone in my life personally who have been taking the steps for sobriety. And one of the steps is to make amends. And I truly believe, like, in my soul, that Bryan was genuinely trying to make amends, because we were friends. We were good friends. And I believe he was trying to just make amends and try to fix what he broke in high school, with the relationship with his family, relationship with people, relationship with just anybody who saw him fall into that, like, really hard downward spiral. And that's why I believe that he went to college for what he did, and now ended up with trying to do his PhD in criminology. I don't believe Votech was necessarily a thing that he loved doing, the HVAC, but I do genuinely believe, like, with his research and stuff, I do believe he really wanted to make a difference and make a change, for sure.
Do you, what type of hobbies was he into when you knew him?
He liked to be outside or just chill. Like, he was very chill. Like, he didn't really have, like, video game addiction or anything of the sort. He wasn't really necessarily an A++ student, but he wasn't a bad student either. He never really got into too much trouble either, as far as my memory is. I just think he just wanted to just exist, if that makes sense. So we lived in the Poconos. We're surrounded by nature, and he really enjoyed, like, just sitting out on my friend's porch or my porch, and we just
Where I do have some insight, of course, like, I do want to interject. So we were talking about this the other day. I actually didn't realize that they grew up in the Poconos. I did hear them reference the Poconos on 4chan, but I don't know. A lot of people think of Poconos and they think rural Pennsylvania. But I spent a lot of time in the Poconos. My husband and I used to vacation there when I first got married. And it is the most laid back atmosphere ever. I mean, it's just, there are little places you can go and things you can do, but the Poconos is, as far as, like, vacations and people that go to visit, they're there for the outdoor activities, whether it's playing in the lake club or skiing on their hills. I'm from New Hampshire, so, or cross-country skiing or hiking or even hunting or fishing. Those are the kinds of activities that you do in the Poconos. There's very few things. Like, when I wanted to go do something exciting, there were 3 things I would do in the Poconos. I would go to Mont Erie Casino, I would go to the Jubilee Restaurant, or I'd go to the Salvation Army. Those were, like, literally, there was a Dollar Tree there too. But, like, that was it. So, and just to give you an idea of what the Poconos are like, sorry, I'll start this.
hung out in the wind and just relaxed.
So, go ahead, Jaime.
Oh, I was gonna ask if was he, when y'all were friends, did he show interest in already in crime, like, in cold cases, crime cases, or he didn't show any interest in that yet?
Criminology.
No. I don't necessarily remember us bonding over true crime, and I told you guys earlier that, like, I've been into true crimes. It's a huge part of who I am, and I don't necessarily ever.
The first thing I thought when Bree said that was that, like, Bree says that's a huge part of who she is, and she's really into true crime. I wonder if we're going to see Bree She probably won't until, the case is over. But I wonder if Bree would ever start a true crime channel or get involved in true crime. She would have a really good angle, but I don't think it's something she would do until after the case.
Remember us bonding over true crime, because that is something that like all my friends in my circle know I enjoy.
Interesting. And so,
but it's okay. So it's not just my opinion. I interjected there. Like that's an interesting statement. Knowing that he wanted to be a forensic psychologist, and her emphasis was on him getting into the criminal justice field to help better his community. And that's how she categorizes it. And if he was really into true crime and like the gruesome details, you would think with this person who's really, really into true crime, huge part of what she is, talks about it all the time, you would think they'd have that conversation, but they didn't. But what she did have for conversations was how he wanted to improve and pay it forward or try and make up for some of the mistakes that he had made. I'm really talkative today, sorry.
Hey, I'm gonna jump off. I think it's me.
Yeah, it's both of you guys. That when you guys are talking, I think you just need to unplug it and plug it back in.
I'm gonna jump off real quick.
All right. One question here asks: was he a OCD? Was he really neat into being a neat freak type of person? Very clean.
Those Skype videos, like if you look in the background, I don't believe like he was in the living room. I don't remember if he was, but if you look, like his room kind of looks tidy. Like there's not like excessive posters everywhere and like dirty teen room. Like you just see it's very clean. I don't believe he had OCD, but I do believe like he wasn't a normal teen boy where he was just messy and left everything everywhere.
Right. It looks like he has some type of degree or something in the corner, maybe some type of award. An accomplishment that looks like a breaker box. So this wouldn't be in the living room or the kitchen. My
One thing I'd like to know in the comments section, you guys, is if you think that, like, I think these pictures just come across so much more like as somebody in the moment. I don't know. I think these are really good pictures that show his personality. I'd like to know just your first impressions of seeing these screenshots, if you have any. Just drop it in the chat.
My thoughts would be probably in the maybe a basement bedroom. There's a clock, an old school clock. Yeah. If this is his room, then yeah, you're right. He does this. Those aren't typical. So when he got interested in things, what's the word I'm looking for? Did it consume him? Like sometimes, like for instance, when I got into podcasting, I went pretty crazy and got a bunch of stuff for it. Was he like that? Did he get consumed by projects or things that he was doing?
To my knowledge, I don't believe he has been consumed with projects or anything like that. Like I said, I think he was just an average student just trying to survive and like get out of high school, figure out what life is. And honestly, I don't really know his life in the heroin addict. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure, like after that downfall of his, I'm not sure what his life looked like then.
Understood. You know, I knew he was a security guard at I think at the high school that you guys attended after the fact, and I would assume that he had gone through the steps that he went through to get healthy or to get clean and becoming into that profession that he may have cleaned up and not be on the mind altering drug, especially given how his extreme vegan lifestyle that he's currently living. Go ahead, Big Blue.
I had a quick question. When you knew him at that time, was he also into kickboxing? And did he ever get a severe injury? Because we've heard that he also did kickboxing.
Hold on.
I do remember him, like, after we parted our ways, he was in kickboxing. Maybe I saw, like, a picture or two, but it does cross my mind that he was in kickboxing. And I saw questions in here. Was he working? He worked at a local pizza joint. I don't remember the name, but he worked at a local pizza joint. And how old was he when you last seen him? We were probably 18 years old, maybe 17 years old when I last saw him. And I was maybe 19 years old when he contacted me, and that was the last time we conversated.
Got you. Yeah. I just, you being a different grade, that changes things. I was gonna, he just turned 28, so I assume his 10-year reunion just happened. I was wondering if maybe you had ran into him, but if you were a grade ahead of him, then that wouldn't mix, so to speak. Do you have you spoken with anybody that were friends of his as well since this incident has come out, and had any type of conversation about his?
I need to stop here. Okay, so of all the parts of this, well, I keep saying that for every part. For all the parts of this interview, I do think that the live chat is going to be very interested in this next segment. It is her putting her foot down and speaking very clearly about the impressions of the people where they're from. And I'll call this segment, this is the last segment of the interview, it's called People Are Shocked. And I'm just kind of stepping back after hearing what Bree has to say and processing it all. So.
Possible involvement?
Not so much possible involvement. I have talked to some friends from high school who was in his class or have been with him outside of school. And they're just as shocked. Most people are still processing. I think the people who are already giving him a guilty sentence or just Bryan's guilty, blah, 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 are people who didn't know him or people who didn't really, everyone is just following what the media says, or the FBI caught him, so we're all done, and that's it.
Right.
But I think people who genuinely knew him are like, what the heck? Like, what in the world just happened? Like, she actually is listening now, and she gave me permission. Somebody who worked with him more recently than not. She's fantastic. And she just said that she is shocked and really upset. And I think that's what everybody is feeling who knew Bryan or had some sort of relationship with him. And I think a lot of people are still on the fence if he is guilty or not, because just the Bryan that we knew, it's like, what? That's really out of character.
Right. So when you hear the stories that
we're rewinding that,
been with him outside of school, and they're just as shocked. Most people are still processing. I think the people who are already giving him a guilty sentence or just Bryan's guilty, blah, 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 are people who didn't know him or people who didn't really, everyone is just following what the media says, or the FBI caught him, so we're all done, and that's it.
Right.
But I think people who genuinely knew him are like, what the heck? Like, what in the world just happened? Like, she actually is listening now, and she gave me permission. Somebody who worked with him more recently than not. She's fantastic. And she just said that she is shocked and really upset. And I think that's what everybody is feeling who knew Bryan or had some sort of relationship with him. And I think a lot of people are still on the fence if he is guilty or not, because just the Bryan that we knew, it's like, what? That's really out of character.
Right. So when you hear the stories that potentially there was somebody that was described as him, harassing a waitress, calling her the B word, that doesn't sound typical of the Bryan that you knew.
This isn't me.
Nah, Bryan was too quiet to like cause commotion like that. But I do know, like any human being, I want to say this absolutely respectfully. I think everybody is just taking bits and pieces from bad moments of Bryan's life and are trying somehow to correlate it with the story or with his actions now. And that's really hard for me personally, because it's like, I know I had really bad moments. I've had very dark moments, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to like kill my husband or my kids or off myself or something. It's just like, dang, I wish these people didn't throw these bad parts about me. Like some guy said, because he's a heroin addict, it messed with his brain and he killed 4 people. And it's like, I don't think you understand how like recovery works. And like, if he only used heroin for like a year or two, there's people who've been on heroin for years, for decades, and get sober and they're fine. Like this guy used it and he was in his teens. He was healthy. I can't foresee him just clicking. I don't know.
Got you. And so I guess with my other question, I used the wrong word as far as involvement. What I meant was, and I think you answered it, as do you know anybody that feels like he could have done it? Like that aren't surprised that it's him, so to speak, is perhaps somebody that's local or come out that that you trust, that they've known him, and their opinion it could be that he may have done it.
I have talked to 1 or 2 people that definitely, how do I word this? They aren't necessarily surprised, but they are at the same time. They're like, what, Bryan? But that makes sense. And
Right.
I'm like, where? I don't know. So yeah, there are some people that we went to high school with that are just like, he was such a weird kid. Like I saw him at the water fountain and he told me about his sister's goldfish and I thought he was so weird. Now he's a killer. And it's like, what?
Yeah, that's weird. What do you guys have any? Yeah, we went over 30 minutes. I don't know. We're only going to keep you for 30. Jaime, Blue, do you have any questions before we let Bree go?
Well, my question was like her initial thoughts about when the news broke out that this could have been him. You know what I mean? But that's what I want to know. How she felt. Like, does she automatically dismissed it or not?
So,
yeah.
So I do want to say before we go, that is a great question. When I first found out, I'm a person of humor. I laugh at everything and everything. And it was actually from my friend in the trio. And I was like, LOL, what the fuck? Or I'm sorry for my language. What in the world?
Yeah.
And so I joked about it at first. And then like later on in the night, I was like, what? Like there's like, I'm grieving, but also processing. I do want to say, because I see a lot of questions. Do you think he's guilty? As a true crime fan, I have seen multiple cases play out all the time where they get the suspect, the FBI is involved, everything. And then you get to the very end and it's completely somebody different, or they don't find them guilty. And at this point in time, I have to stick with our justice system and say, like, you're innocent until proven guilty. Until I have the facts, and I don't mean facts as in people on Reddit trying to piece things together on one of their boards on their like walls. I mean like actual evidence from the case. Then to me, to this person, like, I don't necessarily think he's innocent, but I don't think he's guilty. I think we just have to wait and see how it pans out. And I'm not going to sit here and trash somebody that in my brain has always made me laugh, who always made me feel safe, because it's indifference for me as of right now.
Yeah,
for sure. For sure. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, the justice system is the way it is because for a reason, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. He'll have his day in court. He is on his way to Idaho to get some of those answers as to what evidence they have against him. Well, I appreciate you, Bree, coming on. Blue, Blue, did you have any last questions?
No, I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming on. I know you met him a long time ago. He was a sweet guy, and he probably was at that time. And he could change or it could not be him. We'll find out what the proof that they have on him, and go from there. I mean, you just have to see what the truth is.
I do believe that if he is guilty, like I want to say this right now, if he is guilty, he deserves justice for the crimes. But
Right.
I mean, there's just some things that are like off to me, but then there's also like, whoa, they found the DNA. But like the things that are off is if you look at the body cam, his car is super dirty. You would think after something so brutal that his car would be clean, or there would be their evidence in there, like their DNA. And so we're just gonna have to wait for that report that says like they found blood in his car or whatever, but the outside of his car looked like he hasn't cleaned it in months. And so like it's little things like that where it's like, maybe we may have a hung jury. Who knows? But like we're just gonna have to keep watching, keep listening, and have respectful thoughts and opinions and respect other people, like their parents, you know.
When y'all were younger, would he ever have any knives on him? I know up north a lot of people carry knives. Is that?
No, I don't remember him ever. I remember him always wearing this blue zip-up hoodie with like baggy pants and black sneakers. I think it's black sneakers or white sneakers. It was very plain, very like, don't look at me kind of thing.
Okay, so he didn't have like infatuation with like weapons or guns or
this is
knives or any of those type of things. He wasn't
That I
interested in
know
this.
of, no. And no, I never remember him like into like, and I saw a few comments in here where it's like, did he ever kill animals? Like, no. And if he did, I'm sure we as his friends wouldn't even know that he was killing animals.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. It's, there's a profile that's out there for a person that commits this type of crime. And sometimes, those questions will come up to see if he fits that profile. Bree, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you. Do you have any questions for us before you go?
No, I don't necessarily really have any questions or anything. I just want to say, this isn't about the guests that you have on here or me or anybody really. It's just at the end of the day, let's just have empathy for 5 families lost their kids, and that's including Bryan's parents. So I think just being respectful, going off of facts and, healthy opinions, I think that's all we can really do. And that's really why I wanted to get on here and talk, is just to shed light that this was a person that I knew, and he was different, compared to what the media is making him now. And I'm trying very hard to make sure that this case doesn't taint those memories of that person. Whatever he is now, I don't know. I haven't been friends with him for 10 years, but a lot of respect to their families and how they're handling it, and respect to you guys and your viewers, because they are just so respectful and just really awesome. So
yeah, we have some great.
All right, so that was kind of the conclusion of all the information that we have for that particular interview. Okay, just a couple things before we move on to the next segment. The first is, it was really generous of Daniel to let us reuse that whole segment for the live stream. So please make sure you go over there and just drop a like. I put the link to that interview inside the chat, and we'll also link his channel. Just please go and check it out for yourself. And it's just so interesting. So I promised you the next segment, and this is really interesting because it was an article that was specifically recommended to us from Dr. Ramslin, who was recently on our channel on Friday. And so we asked her a question regarding how we could protect ourselves from becoming a target. And I will show you her live answer that she answered in the interview. But after the fact, that night after the interview, she forwarded me the article. And I linked it at the bottom of the interview if you want to go read it for yourself. But I'm going to read it to you now, because I think for all of us, whether you're male or female, or whether you're an adult or you're not, this information is so invaluable to all of us. And she's not just using her opinion, she's bringing in other experts as well. So let me pull that article up. Hold on 1 second. One of the things everybody is talking about in the chat is how hot it is where they are. Somebody said it's 720 3 degrees in Kentucky right now, but it's probably pretty hot. I'm on Cape Cod. We're very lucky. The heat wave is like 10 degrees less than what it is in Boston right now. But I heard some people commenting, because I have a large crew from the Boston area, in the greater Boston area, and everyone's talking about how muggy it is. It's just incredible. Like, I steamed this damn dress before the live stream. It's like already wrinkly. Yeah, Joey was one of the ones. And we have Miss Anonymous 617, obviously repping the 617. Sorry, there's that noise in the background. I can't control it. All right, so this article is featured. So let me take on this comment. This is a serious article. It is featured in Psychology Today. It has multiple professionals that work that Dr. Ramsland contributed their work to. And so, yeah, it's a great read. Let me minimize myself, and I will go ahead and read this to you. And then we'll play the soundbite of Dr. Ramsland's exact words on things you can do and some real life examples. So let's start from the beginning. 6 things the most dangerous predators already know about you. Basic principles of social influence can be twisted for malignant purposes. The key points to this article are persuasive people create attunement, a state of mind that is prepared for the moves that follow. Predators can use human tendencies against people as a means of exploitation. And number 3, one principle a predator may take advantage of is the desire to give back. Psychopaths will give gifts to you to get a foot in the door. All right, here we go. Social psychologist Robert Cialdini has examined hundreds of research studies about compliance and conformity to identify key terms about human nature that will move someone in your direction. And he has delineated 6 core principles of how to persuade others. He claims that good persuaders strum strings that are inside of all of us. And that's a quote. Let me make sure I'm sharing this page with you. Okay. Okay, so back to that quote. They strum strings that are inside of you. He says their goal is to create attunement, a state of mind that is prepare for the moves that follow. For example, one might first ask a person if they're helpful, and then ask them for their help. They will help because they want to be consistent with their self-assessment. Although Cialdini urges us to use these principles ethically, i.e. to educate and improve, it is not difficult to see how someone with less lofty goals might exploit them. In fact, these points of attunement echo psychologist Robert Hare's warnings in Without Conscience about predatory psychopaths. I just spent 5 years writing with BTK killer Dennis Rader, which yielded quite a lot of scary insights about the predatory vigilance. And that was specifically written by Dr. Ramsland about her experiences. To protect yourself, you must understand how predators can use common human tendencies against you. The things that work to get us to agree on and conform are the same things that make us targets. Let's look at the 6 principles to consider how a predator views them. Number 1, authority. We tend to view someone in a position of authority as having experience and power, so we obey. Predators know what we expect, and they offer false credentials spiked with a strong dose of confidence. If they're verbally adept, so much the better, because we view people who speak slightly faster than normal as being confident. We're more likely to accept what they have to say without seeking proof. Number 2, reciprocity. We feel obligated when someone gives us a gift or does us a favor. We want to give back. Hare states psychopaths will give gifts and do favors and just to get a foot in the door. Gifts and favors are not always obligated by also. I'm sorry. Let me start that sentence over. And gifts and favors not only obligated, but also deflect your attention from the perpetrator's true intent. Number 3, liking. When we feel comfortable with or positive about someone, we tend to say yes to their requests. The perceived similarity makes us feel safer and more willing to give special treatment. Predators use compliments, common interests, and common identities to increase rapport. And another quote about Dennis Rader that Dr. Ramsland writes, Rader did this when he was stopped by a police officer just after a murder by playing to their shared awareness of the Boy Scout camp, which also gave him the appearance of being a nice guy. Number 4, scarcity. We place value on items that we believe are in short supply or available to only a limited time. Predators offer desirable items or service within this context as a hook. Number 3, social proof. And this is so important because when we were doing this interview with Dr. Ramsland, the 2 extreme offenders that we specifically talked about, Henry and Rader, they were both upstanding citizens of their community. In fact, Dr. Ramsland said when they first accused Dennis Rader of being the serial killer, people showed up at the police station and say, this can't be. You've got the wrong guy. This isn't the right guy. And then same thing with when you talk about Coral, the mastermind behind the murders that Henry was involved in. He was known as a big brother type in the community. Everybody loved him. They loved his mentorship. They loved that he worked with the youth. And so these people use these social cards that they have. They play these social cards. And so I'll shut up and read what Dr. Ramsland has to say. So social proof. When we don't know quite what to do in a situation, we look for others to help us decide. Clear instructions can elicit our cooperation, especially if it is presented as a majority preference. Predators watch for this sense of uncertainty in us and step in to offer direction. God, that's so true. Number 6, I mean, just true for like, if you're talking about a sociopath or a narcissist, not even an extreme offender. Number 6, commitment and consistency. When we commit to doing something, we tend to abide by it, especially if we make it publicly known. We want to show that our values define us and direct us. Predators will elicit an initial small commitment to leverage us into a larger one. Once we're in, the higher the stakes, and the more we'll behave as they directed. According to Hare, predators hide their dark side until they get past the point where it is difficult for us to disengage. And in conclusion, Dr. Ramsland writes, psychopath predators look for our triggers. So the better we understand our points of vulnerability, the easier it is for us to block malignant manipulation. Let me say that again so that it comes out clearly when I re-edit this. Psychopaths, predators look for our triggers. So the better we understand our points of vulnerability, the easier it is for us to block malignant manipulation. I can't see it. Anyone can be duped. Manipulation, anyone can be duped, even during a brief interaction. So take the time to ensure that the persuader is genuine and offers authentic benefit. Do your research and get your proof. Don't just let someone strum your strings. It's such a great article. So I'm just going to copy the link at the top and I'm going to drop this in the chat so you guys can all go reference it. And of course, when I re-edit this video, I will include a link at the bottom to her article. So that's Dr. R and PT for Psychology Today. with that said, that is a very thorough and psychological way we can just alert ourselves to the people that surround us. However, there were some situational awareness things that Dr. Ramsland went over with us the other night when she was on our show, and we asked her the same question. So I'm actually going to finalize this segment by playing what the doctor actually had to say when we asked her this question live. Okay. Oh, whoa, what's going on? Oops, that's not the right one. That's us right now. That's not good. Hey, Rocco. This clip is at 40 minutes mark. Able to take to the bank and use on our YouTube channels. And I appreciate that advice so much. I just have one last question for you tonight. So this last question, I know it's kind of general, but I'm hoping I can't wait to hear your answer. So based on your experiences studying and analyzing extreme offenders and hearing their stories, in your opinion, is there any way we can protect ourselves from becoming a target?
There are, I sort of, that's a question I just saw being addressed to Ann Burgess. Hulu has a new show on her as the first female that was in the FBI profiling program. She was sort of depicted in Mindhunter. But I think being vigilant, learning that there are people who, the way they may try to deceive you, like Dean Coral, being the affable adult who like to hang out only with teenage boys, and that's a red flag right there. Pay attention to the red flags. Pay attention to something's not quite right. If you have any sense that something is out of place, or maybe you shouldn't go with somebody somewhere, check it out, thoroughly check it out. Don't second guess yourself on something like that, because that's where people go wrong. They second guess, or they comply because they feel like, oh, I'm going to look stupid if I don't go, or I don't do what this person wants me to do. They'll often leverage you in some way. They'll give you a gift, or they'll do you a favor, or they'll put themselves in your world in some way that will make you feel obligated to them, so that they then can get you into a position where you make yourself vulnerable. I do have one in my blog. I have one called 5 Things Predators Know About You. And I would say read that, because they know how to look for people who are uncertain.
And we just did.
They know how to use a sense of authority. They know how to get people to trust them when you shouldn't. So I would say learn as much as you can about how predators operate, and then develop your sense of safety. Get your sense of your skills. Don't do things like, go off with somebody you don't know, to a place you don't know. That's mostly kids who do that, but I think a lot of people can use that advice.
Thank you so much for that. But I like your first.
Let me just add something, because this has happened to me. So because I am in this field and I'm constantly reading about all these things, it has given me a set of skills. For example, if somebody drives up to me, rolls down their window to ask directions, or to ask, I will not step close to the car. If they can't make themselves heard, That's their tough luck. Or I'll direct them to a gas station or something like that. Too many predators have done that, where they bring someone close, in part by being, asking questions in a way that are hard to hear. So they'll bring someone close, knowing that people like to help, and then bam, you're pulled into the van or the car. So knowing that, there will never be a time I would step close to someone's car. I don't care if it's a couple or a young mother, or I would never do it, because they will use those things as guises to get you to do something. If I'm walking somewhere and I'm alone and I meet up with a male of any age, except maybe 4, I will always look back to see where they're going, if they're not going to come back and follow me, because I know things. I know what predators do. So that's why I say learn what they do and make sure your skill set includes the wisdom that you pick up from that.
I never occurred to me that would be a trick before, that somebody would speak quietly to get you to come closer to their
Absolutely.
window.
Yep.
That's really insightful. Thank you for sharing that. So that's all the questions that I had for Dr. Ramsland tonight. Thank you so I just feel like that's kind of, I don't know, like a service or something I can do for you guys, to show you that there are these things, and it's not just a situational awareness, because that's one type of extreme predator. It's also awareness of the people around you. Because when we look at the people who have actually been studied, who have actually lent themselves to be studied by a psychologist, we know that they meld into their community, and they're stable, and they're not a transient, and they're not like a gypsy passing through town. I'm not saying that, we have to be situationally aware at all times, but also knowing that anybody could be that predator. And then also the concept later on in this, one of the people in my chat asked Dr. Ramsland if she has ever met a psychopath who came across attractive, because the stereotypical point of view of a psychopath is that they're extremely charming. And we kind of interpret that as good people, or people who are charismatic. We categorize that as a good thing when we meet that in people. And so you should stop and think in your life, who are those people that instantly get to you? Because they could just know things about you and just be throwing them out to make you feel like you relate to them more. So it's just interesting who stands out in your life, because it could be anybody. So your point is, you always are vigilant. You're always aware of your surroundings. I couldn't agree with you more. Sirius Black says, I absolutely loved her advice about this. When I heard it the other night, I told everyone about it. The end of the segment was incredible. Dr. Ramsland on her own asked if she could take some, it would be okay if we could do some questions from the live chat, or if I wanted to do that. And I was just so surprised she was that open and willing to do so. And it was honestly one of the whole interview was interesting, but it was so interesting to hear her talk in just such a casual, answering these questions from our live chat. It goes along with this segment. I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to play when she talks about being manipulated, because this is interesting. She basically says, from a psychologist's point of view, if there ever comes a point that you believe you are so smart, you can't be manipulated, and this is a trained professional. She goes, you're vulnerable right there. She goes, everyone who works in this field has to realize that in order to stay safe, they have to know that they can be manipulated. And so we'll play this segment, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think this fits really well into what we're talking about. And then I'm going to get to sharing these new channels that you guys are going to love. We're going to play at least 2 videos on each channel. So hold on. D has a question for you, and I think this is really interesting. You can answer however you want. Have you ever met a psychopath who was attractive to you? Many are so charming, because that's what I always think too. The stereotypical psychopath is a charmer.
Yes, I certainly have. I would say, I mean, all of us who are in the field and are experts on psychopaths know that we can be deceived. If you ever come to believe that you are so knowledgeable that you can't be manipulated or lied to, you're vulnerable. We're always vigilant. I'm more concerned about some of the other people I've run into that I think are attractive, but are like psychological vampires who just trespass on your boundaries and take and take and take, and they're not necessarily psychopaths. So in my life, they've been much more damaging than a psychopath has. But yeah, I mean, lots of psychopaths are charming and manipulative, and that's what they're vigilant for what is going to work with you, because they always have their own agenda first. They're narcissists, and they're reward oriented, and they will figure out how they can exploit you and take advantage of you for their benefit. They always will.
Okay. And we will stop there. So what a fascinating interview. I'm so grateful that she lent her time to this channel. If Dr. Ramsland happens to be watching, thank you again for giving us your time. So let's just go ahead. What's my favorite food? Pizza. I like pizza. I mean, I like other things too, but if you were to ask me something that's go-to that I know I'm going to like, it would be cheese pizza. And I like all different kinds of pizza. I don't know what my favorite is. I'd probably say I like the pizza that you get in New York that you can fold in half and take a bite of. But if I was to just order it from a pizza shop, I would order, I like Greek pizza, like how they make it in the pan with like the perfect crust. And I like that pizza. And then occasionally, if it's done really well, and it has to be done really well and taste like absolute butter, I like one of those Chicago deep dish pizzas. And I like cheese pizza. I don't know why. It's just like the only thing I really love. Yeah, the thin crust. When I was a kid, do you guys remember, anyone who's like maybe in my age group, remember that Domino's had the stuffed crust pizza? It never really was as good as you thought it would be, but anyway, back to now we're going to talk about my mods. So let's start with, see which one comes up first, Heather or Christy. Christy. Oh, actually, Christy, I want to end with yours because yours is off subject. So we're going to bring up Heather Fitzgerald's channel first. And I will make a banner as soon as we get there. Hold on. This has been a great show today, you guys. Thank you so much for showing up. I had a really good time. And it looks like Heather's up to 25 subscribers, and she literally only started like a few days ago. So she's doing good. People are liking what she has to say. Heather's style is she keeps it into small bite-sized pieces. We're going to watch 2 videos. They're literally only like 20 or 30 seconds, but they're thought-provoking. And we could start a conversation with them, or we could just, listen to them. Let me make a banner for Heather before we play her videos so you guys know where to go and just quickly subscribe to her as well. And if any of my other mods, like I know Trisha has it, if somebody else has something they'd like to feature, one of my mods in this channel, I love the idea that I can give back to you and do something for you. So please let me know if you want me to promote you in any way. I appreciate all you've done for me. So, Heather. Gerald. Okay. So here's Heather's banner, and let's take a look at her channel. All right, so I looked through her videos this morning to see which ones we're going to play, and we're going to play these 2 first videos she put out. The first one is, I just want to know what you guys have to think about this, because honestly, it is thought-provoking. But Bill Thompson on November 30th said that he was exonerating some people, and Heather brought it up just because it's super interesting.
Spoke to the prosecutor. He was very clear with me that they still have no suspects in this case. Are there persons of interest and people that the investigators are looking at?
I think it's fair to say that there have been people of interest to the investigators, and everyone that they've identified so far, they've been able to exonerate. Perhaps exonerate isn't the best word, but they've been able to eliminate them as being an actual suspect. And investigators and everyone that they've identified so far, they've been able to exonerate. Perhaps exonerate isn't the best. I think it's fair to say that there have been people of interest to the investigators, and everyone that they've identified so far, they've been able to exonerate. Perhaps exonerate isn't the best word, but they've been able to eliminate them as being an actual suspect.
The first
Spoke
thing
to the prosecutor. He was very clear with me.
Pause it somewhere where it's a good screenshot. The first thing I'm going to say is, if you go subscribe to Heather's channel, what you might not know about Heather is she is an absolute library of resources for the IDAHO4. She has files and documents. She's organized all of her information, and she lends it to a lot of creators. So if you go subscribe to her, you can be assured she's going to be pulling out not only things that are thought-provoking, but things that come with an attached receipt, because that's what she does. So if you go subscribe to her, you're going to get more videos like this that actually pull out actual things, not just saying, you know, somebody told me Kaylee saw people in the trees. All right. Let's look at this one now. Actually, we'll play two more because I like the cast one as well, but I think this is well done. I've been looking for a clip I can play when we talk about AT saying that BK was innocent. Hold on, I'm going to change my background. It's terrible. Okay. So let's play this one.
I will end by saying this. Our defense team firmly, and I mean firmly, believes in Mr. Kohberger's innocence.
To talk more about those 8 White House.
And we're going to go right into the other one while we're here, because this is a good one to stop off on, because it's going to set us up.
Now talking about item 242, the cast report. The history of this is we came to the court asking for the cast report, knowing it was relied upon last year, and the court ordered that we receive it. We received one that was stamped draft all over it. You've heard testimony about that today from Mr. Ray, and it's not a final report, and we knew that when we got it. We asked for that. We asked for the analysis behind that, and we haven't received that. We were told on February 23rd of this year that the state will provide this by March 3rd.
I just have to address this question for the women listening. Big Mikey, young women are narcissists. I just have to say that it's actually been proven. I believe the clinical studies show that most people under the age of 18 display the characteristics of a sociopath, or a narcissist. So, it's not just the girls, okay? Please. I had to stand up for my girls, that's all.
31st. Well, March 31st came and went, and we did not get it. So on April 23rd, the state said we still don't have it. And then on May the 10th, the state responded to this request and said that because we provided additional information, Mr. Kohberger's alibi, they need more time to do work on this cast report, and they'll get it to us later. Talking about item 242, the cast report. The history of this is we came to the court asking for the cast report, knowing it was relied upon last year, and the court ordered that we receive it. We received one that was stamped draft all over it. You've heard testimony about that today from Mr. Ray, And it's not a final report. And we knew that when we got it. We asked for that. We asked for the analysis behind that. And we haven't received that. We were told on February 23rd of this year that the state will provide this by March 31st. Well, March 31st came and went, and we did not get it. So on April 23rd, the state said we still don't have it. And then on May the 10th, the state responded to this request and said that because we provided additional information, Mr. Kohberger's alibi, they need more time to do work on this cast report and they'll get it to us later.
I probably should add myself to the screen. I like this comment. So Sirius Black says, I know how you feel. I am a stay-at-home wife and I spend lots of time alone. So I discovered I could talk to others while enjoying something that interests me. Talk about a win-win. Good to see you. And she was answering someone else. And I am also, I don't want to call myself a stay-at-home wife. Like I'm always very employable and bringing in some sort of money. But I do mainly work for my husband. So I'm always, and YouTube is my full-time job. So, but I wouldn't have been able to sustain it and keep spending so much time at it if there wasn't a social aspect to it, because you have to give up something in order to work on these YouTube projects. And so it's so pleasant to have so many wonderful people around you to always chat with. Like last night I was doing research for an interview I have on Thursday. And I mean, I was up until like 11 o'clock at night, which is unusual for me. Well, maybe not. And it was just nice to have my YouTube family awake and chatting with me, and somebody's always live. So just wanted to agree with this sentiment. And do we have any? Oh, Heather is here. She says, I just wonder if that's why B allegedly said that. Oh, this is what WSU Mom Kim says. I just want to announce something. If you guys don't know, I'm actually going to pull up her channel right now. Let me pull it up because I want to show you guys something about WSU Mom Kim, who's a friend to this channel. If you haven't seen my interview with her, wow, she says a lot of things you definitely want to listen to. Let me go to my subscriptions. I just want to show you guys this. Okay. Oh, it's so weird. You don't come up as WSU Mom Kim. Let me follow you from the live chat. I don't know why. I'm subscribed to all these people, and sometimes they don't show up on my list when I look for them, which like freaks me out a little. Let me just find WSU Mom Kim. I have to show you guys this before we go on. So I guess I'm showing 3 mods channels because WSU Mom Kim is also one of my mods. And we were talking about pizza earlier, and I saw a comment. I put it up on the screen. She said, that's what they eat in New York is just cheese pizza. And she's right. It's so good. Italian food is about the subtlety of flavors. You don't just add everything to spice it up. You keep your key ingredients and you prepare them correctly and with diligence, and then the food tastes so good because it's about the subtlety of flavors, even pizza. I'm a real know-it-all today, if you guys didn't notice. Probably shouldn't get into the real world. I'm sorry. I just want to, I have to find this comment before I go on because this is kind of an update for you guys, actually. There it is. Oh, damn it. I know, she left me a message. Let me go to my notifications. Maybe I left her a message. I don't know. All right. So while I'm doing that, I'm gonna look up Kim's channel so I can make this announcement for you guys. While I'm looking that up, Christy actually has some videos that are a little bit over a minute, so I can play them. And she actually made one this morning that was really good. Now, Christy had never had a channel until 2 days ago. Christy was just content, doing her thing on YouTube. Every once in a while, she wanted to weigh in, but something happened. She happened to be in the epicenter of one of the largest stories we've seen in this country in a long time, which is the shooting of the ex-president Trump. And so let me make a banner for Christy. Christy was right in the heart of that situation. She had family members who were affected by that situation. And so being so close, she went out of her way to take footage of the event. Personally take footage. She owns this footage. It's not like coming from a news source. And we're very grateful to her because we are the new breed of independent journalists, and someone like Christy is the new breed of a field reporter, somebody at the event who knows everything locally, who can start putting information out there, because we all now are armed with a little computer, supercomputer in our hands. And I just think it's great. So anyway, let's support Christy. And she was brave to go do this work for us. So let me type in her handle. And then while I'm doing that, I'll get WSU Mom Kim stuff. Christy. And also another thing on a side note, this is like a free way you can really support this channel, because if you give them encouragement, they'll make more videos and they help me with content. So it really is a free way you can help the channel. All right, now let's hope Christy's comes up under her name. Oh, good. All right. So let me share Christy's channel. So we're transitioning stories now. And before I play this, just so you guys know, there will never, ever, ever be a time where I make my content political on this channel. This is not a political movement. This is just reporting on the facts of the case. So just before anyone thinks that we're talking about a Trump or a Biden thing, we're not. We don't do that here. So we're going to play the most recent video she put out because it's the raw 911 audio. It's a 5-minute clip. I'm going to tell you guys something. There is no sound. There's like a sound differential in this. So it hasn't been sound compressed like you hear before you hear it on the news or something. There are some sharp sounds. So, don't turn your volume all the way up to hear, Anyway, here we go. Great use of the English language right there.
Staff, come in the post. Medical staff, come in the post.
Shots fired towards the blue water tank. That's right.
I got one down on the inside. Medical crew, get in command. Chief 12-3, let me know what you need.
All EMS crews get inside buildings. Stay secure inside buildings.
Total 1 to all units, be advised, we're evacuating. Stay inside the building. We're evacuating the crowd.
Copy. Crowd is evacuating.
Team, to the stage. All units operating Butler Farm Showgrounds. Facilities on lockdown, everyone stay inside. Operations on fire up 6. All units operating Butler Farm Showgrounds. Facilities on lockdown, everyone stay inside. Operations on fire up 6.
EMT Caldwell to any conquesting units. I have 2 in the bus.
Where are you at?
I am in the bus, Mike. I have 2 patients in here. Tell me what I need to do.
Stand by.
Director 99 from the Emmett. Security room, the medic command.
Go. Security room, command, go ahead.
Medic to the backstage, medic to the backstage. Robbie, if you're trying to find a patient, she's right here behind you.
Squad 10 behind you. Squad 10 behind you.
Squad 10 behind you. Behind you, Squad 10. You gotta turn around. Command Chief 13. I got a gunshot wound at the stage.
Receive, sending you another unit down the stage. Gunshot wound. UTV 99. GSW at the stage.
Command from Chief 13. We're loading the gunshot. We're gonna bring it straight to the ambulance, clear the area.
An ambulance behind the stand.
UTV 10 is engaging on the stage. We're going to need another UTV. It's into a safe area by the fairgrounds.
Water control, Chief 12-2.
We need ESU medics to the stage.
Medical command from 10-1. We need a UTV to transport a patient right at the uplink.
There are UTVs en route. 15 at uplinks on the outside of the fence, outside of the fence.
That's for one to go outside the fence?
The uplink trucks are outside the fence on the west side.
All right, we have UTVs heading outside the fence. Weather control, Chief 12-2. 12-2, good. UTV 15 around with a medic.
That's so funny.
You put me 4 air medical on standby, please. Okay, Butler VA has an LZ set up if it's needed. How many do you want to stand by? Just 1, or did you say 4? I said 4, please. All right, stop.
Medic command from security room. Got left side of the stage medic units for GSW.
All right.
H10 doc.
Just so you guys know, I'll drop it in the live chat if you want. I do have a Discord server, and it's like a 24/7 chat. I mean, it dies down a little bit between like maybe 1 a.m. and like 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much a 24-hour chat. So if you like to talk about the case or the true crime, there's no really real rules in there, except there's no bullying, specifically towards other YouTube channels, because we don't want to mess up their brand. But if you want to join while we're listening to the rest of this video, and then I'm going to show you some short clips of footage, because this really isn't doing Christy any justice to her field work yesterday. I mean, she got in her car. She was one of the first people who actually showed me the short distance between the stage and the flag where Trump was standing and where the shooter was. And it's one thing to hear it. It's one thing to hear how many feet away they were. It's a whole nother thing when you see it with your own eyes driving by and you get the perspective of how very close this person was. It did change my perspective a little bit. Oh, I just closed it. Damn it. I'm an idiot. Hold on. Sorry, Christy. Let's get your channel back up. Let me share my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. And we don't just have dead air. Okay, I'm going to my subscriptions. Manage. Okay, here we go. There you are. We had 2 minutes left of this call, or a minute and a half.
Staff, come in the post. Medical staff, come in the post.
Shots fired towards the
There we go.
medic command from security room. Got left side of the stage medic units for GSW.
I always forget I have it on that screen.
H10 doc from TAC command. EMS command from Chief 13. G13.
Thank you, Winch.
Have an ALS crew ready for us. We're going to be transporting to the main gate in our UTV. All right, we'll have to have the unit. Security room to Medic Command.
Big Mike.
Main arrival departure ALS unit has already been dispatched. Affirmative.
EMS command from 62-4. We are staged across Route 68 from the main gate if needed.
64, okay. Sorry, 62.
All right. So that was incredible.
Command 1002.
It's the first time I've heard the 911 call. And just knowing that, just knowing that sorry, I spelled your name wrong. Let's fix that really quickly. You guys, I have like spaghetti fingers when I type on a keyboard. It is from using dictation and typing on my iPhone. I don't even know what it is. Like I have this straight flat keyboard and I used to use like an ergonomic keyboard. So like, I don't know what it is, but I type like a fourth grader now. Apologies. Let's fix this. Let me edit it. There we go. Okay. We're going to get into the really good stuff now, you guys. The actual work that Christy put into this, physically driving around. So the one that I had posted on my channel, it's this one, I think. Yep.
Trying to walk up, guys. If you can see, there's the flag where he was at. Trying to walk up, guys. If you can see, there's the flag where he was at.
Okay, I'm going to pause there. We're going back because there's one where she sees the flag and then she shows us the building. And actually, this one might have it too. There it is. Pause it. There. So when you see the American flag, that's the indicator of where Trump was standing. He was underneath that flag.
We got every news company out there. We got every.
So Christy, I'm just going to tell you because it's like the worst, most grossest like name in the world. But there's this thing called a dead kitten you can put on your phone or your camera that stops that wind noise. And it's really helpful if you have to stick your phone out the window. They're very cheap too. I got to find this one video though she had, you guys. Hold on. It is Christy. You got to help me out. It was that 2-second video you sent me. That was so good. Oh, here it is. Not it either. Okay, I'm just going to go to my channel because I at least know where it is. But before I do, and the reason I have it on my channel is because Christy sent it to me before she even uploaded any videos. And I edited it and I put some like indicators of what she was telling me in it. So I'm just going to play the video she sent me because I don't know where to find it on here. But other than that, there's Christy's handle. Please go visit her channel. You guys, please sub to her. It's the free way you can help my channel, because they helped me so much. And let me go to my channel, and I made it a members only video. Here we go.
As you can see, Trump is here.
Okay, and there's the building. Well, let me go back. So this is the real money one right here, I think. This is only a 2-second video, and for a 2-second video, it just shows so much. Why doesn't it keep playing? So you see the flags that they just passed, and right. So I paused it right at the right time. As you can see, the arrow is, well, let me get it so I can use my cursor. The arrow is right here, and the gunman was over here. Look how close that is, you guys. All right, so like I said, please visit Christy's channel. And if you're interested, particularly in the ongoing case about the attempted presidential assassination, then you're looking at the right place, because she's going to bring you local stuff. Lastly, I have this isn't just an update to one of my mods. This is also, I believe, an update in the IDAHO4 case. It's something new that we're all going to be covering, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I might even be the only or the first person to announce it on YouTube. Let me take down Christy's banner so I don't get you guys confused. And I do have a banner for WSU Mom Kim up here. Let me find that. Here we are. And let's take a look at WSU Mom Kim's channel. Oh, I saved it. I gotta get this one. Okay. So this is WSU Mom Kim's channel, and she made this post. I want to read to you guys. It was made last night, and before I read it to you, I just want you to know that me as a creator who has spoke about Kim and reported on her, I 100% support what she's doing, and she is doing the right thing by controlling the situation. And so, yeah, let's hear what Kim has to say. Let me move myself so I'm not blocking it. Hold on. There. Kim says, I'm going live one time only, July 20th at noon Pacific Standard Time. I am over the misrepresentations, verbal assaults, threats of violence, and having my words twisted to fit individual creators' narratives. If you want me up, I shouldn't say it like that. If you want me up, I welcome you. I will drop you if you fail to act like an adult. Good for you. I welcome you to the conversation and questions. I will not entertain abuse or judgment. Believe me and why I came here, or don't. I am not a creator. I am not a creator. I have zero desire to be one. I had information and a warning. So if you would like to be an adult with a question, I will happily answer to the best of my ability. Please note, there are things I can't and won't ever say. I'm a lot less trusting and no longer naive. See you then. Be well, be kind, and find something in your world to love. I'm sorry, Kim, but you're making me want to cry when I read that. Please go to Kim's channel right now and give her a like, because honestly, I'm the only one who's liked this post, and I just think it's because she's not in the algorithm. You know, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could go over there and just show Kim some love. She has helped us learn more about this case, because she shares what she heard as far as the word on the street, and she is a vetted guest. and I trust the vetting process that I heard. I wouldn't be recommending her on my channel if I didn't. And I just say, please go visit her, give her a little support and like, because for every bad comment I've ever heard about Kim, I've heard 5 wonderful comments, mainly of mothers, you know, basically saying, I support what she's doing, and I hear the sincerity in her voice. And we understand that if you immerse somebody in the public eye, it might take them a little while to get their feet and, you know how to speak when everybody is scrutinizing every single word you're saying and every, even the speed of your voice. So anyway, that's all I'm going to preach about right now. If you could just go give Kim a like, I'd really appreciate it. And that's a free way you can support my channel because she is one of my content moderators. So, and we have so many comments. I don't know what they're talking about. Oh, yes, Christy Nevada. I wish I'd seen that whenever you... I'm just taking time. I don't want to just put up comments without reading them right now. I just want to make sure they're appropriate. And I haven't gotten to the WSU on Kim yet. Wait. I don't understand that. Oh yeah, I got to drop the link to my Discord. Hold on, I'm going to do that while we're talking. Let me find, but first I want to find something about WSU Mom Kim because I know you guys have commented on her. Hey, Christy's not in Nevada. Isn't that funny? Weird. Sorry to dox Christy slightly, but she is a field journalist, so she's got to get used to it. Oh, thank you so much, Jeremiah. Everyone thinks that, but no Broncos. Oh, I can't even tell you. We've talked about this so much in Discord. It's just hard. It's hard. Are we talking about a conspiracy theory? Are we talking about people that were hired to protect the president but weren't willing to give the ultimate price to protect him? What was going on? What was the holding of command when they had the shooter in their sights? I know. It's so many unanswered questions. My brother lived in LA a long time ago, like 15, maybe 20 years ago. And he'd call me from LA and he'd say my real name. I'm not gonna say it. Oh, Kiki. LA is the center of the universe. I'm like, okay. Chrissy says she hasn't seen so many news companies in her phone. Yeah, my boots on the ground. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And I think Scott just joined us. Thanks for being here, Scott. I'm sorry for the dead air, you guys. I'm trying to. Oh, here we got one from. Oh, thank you, Kim. So Kim says, I absolutely thank you and appreciate you. When I get your amazing town again, I don't think she's talking about me. Oh, I hope you will meet me in Gia. You just will. Absolutely, Kim. You're ever in town, I will drive to where you are, and we're gonna go have lunch or dinner, coffee, or whatever time of day it is. Let me know. Richie Rich says, if I'm not mistaken, the back of the snipers had police written. I'm not sure the Secret Service had police written on the back. I think they were local snipers. Local snipers? Maybe. For me, isn't a sniper like a really honorable, like high up position? Like they don't make, like snipers are like, you know what I mean? Like I don't think, I don't know. I'm not contradicting you, Richie Rich. I'm just thinking to myself, of all the positions they might outsource, they might not hire snipers on detail because I don't know. But I don't know. I'm a civilian. All right, so that is my stream plan for today. And I could tell you guys, just like I was saying at the beginning, I honestly need to start doing more streams. I cut myself down to 2 streams last week. First off, it was like, it gave me so much. It wasn't good. Like I have so much to get out there, and I can't do it if these live streams, like we're almost on 3 hours, and I literally have like 4 or 5 backup stories I could have shared with you guys right now. I need to either do like a T-Rev 8-hour, or I need to do an extra live stream. So I scheduled a members only live stream for tomorrow at 9. I have a wonderful special for you guys Thursday night at 8:30. I have Michael Alderio Photography is going to be joining me. He just has some incredible theories, but he's pointing out some interesting observations he's made. And I have shown them on this channel before, but I just want to invite him up. I've shown about 4 or 5 of his videos, and I just want him to come up and talk to me in his own words. And I tried to bring some receipts to the table. He names all his sources for where he gets his information. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. So please tune in. That's Thursday at 8. And then Friday morning, I have my normal scheduled live stream at 10. So I'm doing that on Mondays and Fridays at 10. And I don't know where I'm going to add this 3rd live stream a week. And I'm thinking Saturday mornings are always wonderful for live streams, but I feel bad because I have like an audience of people who does not listen to me in the mornings. I mean, YouTube tells me nobody listens to me like at certain times in the morning. So I feel like, when they tell me the best times of day to do a video, I'm literally mumbling right now. So my point is I think I should do a nighttime live stream because I'm doing morning live stream. So I'm probably gonna do members only on Tuesdays, and then it'll either maybe Saturday nights. We'll work it out. I'll let you know. But I'm going to be upping it to 3 live streams a week. We already have 4 scheduled for this week. So let me find the comments. Yeah, I know you're laughing at me. Yeah, yeah, that's a problem. All right, I'm going to let you go, and thank you so much for your time. I'm going to play you an outro. I really appreciate your patience. I hope you enjoy the photographs. They're just photographs of what we've talked about in the podcast. And other than that, I appreciate your time. Please hit that like button because it'll put this live stream in front of another person for me, and I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for watching. sorry, I had myself muted. You guys, I forgot to show you something in the first segment, and I'm refilming this for a video, so I have to show you everything. So listen, when we did our first segment, which was on that article that Mikey had sent me regarding Netflix and James Patterson making their own movie, when I was talking about Howard Bloom and sources, and James Patterson talking about how he spoke with the Lamine and the Chapin families, and then you see this statement that the Gonzalez family literally just put out about Howard Bloom's book, it kind of differentiates what we're talking about in terms of books here. So I'm going to go to Discord. And while I'm there, I will drop a link, like I said, in case anyone wants to join the 24/7 chat. Okay. Let me not dox to myself. Okay, got it right here. So this came to us. Please, she is also one of my mods. So please go visit her channel. Echoes Dismantle. Oh God, please. I'm so sorry. Trisha, if you're here, or Christy or someone, if you could drop a handle to Trisha's channel. She focuses on true crime. She does spiritual work. She does tarot readings and spiritual stuff in terms of true crime and self. It's just an interesting channel, a bunch of good people. Anyway, her due diligence in making sure she got this out to the community was great because I hadn't seen it anywhere else. This was a statement submitted by the Gonzalez family to attorney Andrew Myers, who's also part of our true crime committee and also reps the 617. Let me read this to you. Let me minimize myself. Okay. From Steve Gonzalez to Andrew Myers. Hello, Andrew. Thank you for this opportunity. We have one primary question regarding Bloom's book. What evidence supports the theory that BK was focused on Maddie May? In our recent meeting with the prosecution team, they expressed difficulty in establishing direct connections between BK and the victims. If Bloom has stumbled across some substantial evidence, please get in touch with Thompson and share it promptly. We are collaborating with a digital forensics company to strengthen these connections. Meanwhile, the court's reliance on outdated gag order is proving ineffective, as seen with Bloom's book and the true crime communities shaping these new narratives and expectations. It is the prosecution's responsibility to represent the unembellished truth without any fictional elements. And their task becomes increasingly difficult with each passing. Hold on. And their task becomes increasingly difficult with each passing day, I'm sure it's supposed to say. We no longer live in a world where media is centralized and on black and white televisions run by ABC networks, Today, people can access countless points of view from all over the world. Most of these content providers are not under the control of any courtroom. Let's hope Judge wakes up and starts being proactive in addressing this situation. Thank you for your time and efforts in this case, Steve Gonzalez. And it's a particularly important thing to read since we all just listened to a world-class professor teach us that acronym WSCA. Oh God, I don't want to. Anyway, we explained it at the beginning, and that's all I got for you today. We have 54 comments. Good gracious. Okay, James Patterson is a phenomenal author, and I don't know if he even writes all of his new books, but he certainly has all the talent coming to James Patterson Publishing. So good. Such an interesting development in this case that we're going to have that kind of skill, giving us a narrative based on the firsthand account of the victims' families. WSU Mom Kim says, does it make more sense that Bryan and Bethany had ties? He said she could exonerate him. I don't think Bryan has the ability to lie as a mom, not as a fact. It's a really good statement. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I've heard the rumors in the beginning. I've also heard the rumors of connections to Kohbergers in the Vegas area. But all of these things I have zero corroborating receipts for. They're just people talking about them, like rumor. So I've never reported them on this channel, but I don't know. And we'll find out. Dean says, WSU Mom Kim, agree 100%. Anyway, that's it for today's, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful Monday. And let me give it. Peace be your journey today.